It's a ghost town, we're in this together. They're closing all the stores down, we're heading for shelter. It's all war now, they'll always remember. We're locking all our doors down, we're sticking together. It's a ghost town. It's a ghost town, we're in this together. They're closing all the stores down, we're heading for shelter. It's all war now, they'll always remember. We're locking all our doors down, we're sticking together. It's all ghost town.
I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. But I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there's a place for us, for we are glorious. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. Another round of bullets hits my skin. Well, fire away, 'cause today I won't let the pain sink in. We are bursting through the barricades and reaching for the sun. That's what we become. I won't let them break me down. I know that there's a place for us. Oh, we are glorious. The sharpest words wanna cut me down. I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I'm meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here I come, and I'm marching on to the beat I drum. I'm not scared to be seen, I make no apologies. This is me. When the sharpest words wanna cut me down, I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. This is brave, this is bruised, this is who I'm meant to be. This is me. This is me. I'm gonna send the blood, gonna drown them out. This is me.
I believe the sun should never set upon an argument. I believe we place our happiness in other people's hands. I believe the junk food tastes so good because it's bad for you. I believe your parents did the best job they knew how to do. I believe that beauty magazines promote low self-esteem. I believe I'm loved when I'm completely by myself alone. I believe in karma, what you give is what you get returned. I believe you can't appreciate real love till you've been burned. I believe the grass is no more greener on the other side. I believe you don't know what you got until you say goodbye. I believe you can't control or choose your sexuality. I believe that trust is more important than monogamy. I believe your most attractive features are your heart and soul. I believe that family is worth more than money or gold. I believe the struggle for financial freedom is unfair. I believe the only ones who disagree are millionaires. I believe in karma, what you give is what you get returned. I believe you can't appreciate real life till you've been burned. I believe the grass is no more greener on the other side. I believe you don't know what you've got until you say goodbye. I believe forgiveness is the key to your unhappiness. I believe that wedded bliss negates the need to be undressed. I believe that God does not endorse TV evangelists. I believe in love surviving death into eternity. I believe in karma, what you give is what you get returned. I believe you can't appreciate real love till you've been burned. I believe the grass is no more greener on the other side. I believe you don't know what you've got until you say goodbye. I believe in karma, what you give is what you get returned. I believe you can't appreciate real love till you've been burned. I believe the grass is no more greener on the other side. I believe you don't know what you got until you say goodbye. Until you say goodbye. Oh no, 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 no. No, 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 no.
Welcome to CLACCA ULC. Hi, my name is Mr. Rev, Comrade Rowley, and wherever you're watching, I would just like to acknowledge that the land that we're meeting on is of the Gadigal and the Wangal people of the Eora Nation, and I pay my respects to the elders, both past and present. I recognise sovereignty, treaty, and social justice has never been ceded. We just have a few announcements I would like to share. Firstly, we've been tied at the. If you're wondering why, it's been about a month since we've had Sunday church services. It has to do with the fact we are short-staffed here at CLACCA ULC, and because we were tied up with organising for Mardi Gras, Fair Day and Mardi Gras, as well as World Pride, as well as having to fight for the equal right to complete my theology degree without discrimination. There hadn't been anybody to relieve me. So I do apologise for those who are wanting to know what happened to us. We haven't. I can rest assured, CLACCA ULC has not shut down. We've got no intentions of shutting down. It was a case of there was no one to relieve me. On a Sunday. That's all. Or for no other reason. So we rest assured we hadn't shut down or anything like that. It was a case of there was just no one available to relieve me, and no other reason. But I do pray that eventually we will have CLACCA ULC. We'll eventually have somebody to relieve me during times where I have to go and take care of other stuff, which would be incredibly helpful. But fortunately, the one of the drawbacks is that unfortunately, when other churches don't necessarily always support, unfortunately, the reality is there are not many churches in Australia that support the life and work of Universal Life Church ordained ministers, or transgender, asexual survivor ordained ministers, for that matter, who are dynamic, inclusive, progressive, who have crave liberation perspective. And so the difficulty for me, it has been trying to find somebody who can fill in for me during those times when when I am involved in organising another event, and I can't get time. I can't find somebody to fill in for me. It's another reason why I do, as a general rule, do part-time studies. So that I can be here every Sunday. But the reality is that there is not. But with my hope and prayer, that we may be able to find somebody that can rotate with me during times where I've got to take care of other CLACCA ULC work, and pray that we will eventually be able to get together a local CLACCA ULC church team that had always been the dream. Essentially, we went online during the global pandemic. After 5 years of not being able to find a free church space because CLACCA ULC has no money. Money. A lot of the churches were going online, and it worked well for CLACCA ULC. But as we are now coming out of the pandemic, the need for forming a local church team, as well as finding a church space, so that we can meet up together in person. Is now a crucial need. So I guess for me, look, I got thrown. Well, I had a calling to be an ordained minister. Part of the deal I hadn't planned on was planting a local church. And while I've was ordained with an existing church, being the Universal Life Church overseas, the reality for a lot of ULC ordained ministers is that there's no finances, there's no financial resources. There are very, very, very few churches that will welcome ULC ordained ministers to be able to plant a church space, and also there's also the challenges of trying to form a local church team as well. So essentially, so and the reality is that for whatever reason, the reality is that it was logistically, it was not possible to pull off multiple events at the same time, as well as a time that predominantly fell on a Sunday. There is on the 2nd of April, in terms of the announcements coming up, there is a Transgender Day of Visibility, and that is happening on the 2nd of April. Now, and that is happening at the Hub. It's been renamed Pride Square, which I think is pretty fitting. But also happening on the same time is the Palm Sunday Refugee Rally. That's happening at Belmore Park. I have spoken to both groups in terms of the logistics of that, to see whether or not it's possible the two groups could meet together, because the fight for transgender refugees is an important part of both the refugee movement, as well as the transgender rights movement. And so there's an intersection. There's an intersection between the two, and I think one of the things that movements are often not very good at is seeing the intersections between multiple struggles, so to speak, which are not counter opposed to each other. I mean, look, it would be great if we could just have a human rights protest at every single protest, and which all the protest groups would come together and just organize the one protest. But the reality is because that's not always logistically possible, then we have groups organizing separately. So there are times where we need to work together, and then there are times where we need to work separately. And the same applies in relation to I mean, look, with so many different queer churches going on all at the same time on Church Sunday and Sunday likewise. Many Sunday church services equally fall on at the same time. But there's always an assumption that only God exists in this space and doesn't exist outside the four walls of this particular Sunday worship space. And my acknowledgement is the fact that, well, God not only exists in this church space, but God exists outside the four walls of this church space. And I think that's the thing that the church needs to get its head around. And likewise, anyway, that's a whole nother discussion that I probably should discuss at another time. So in terms of other announcements that we've got coming up, so currently we're having to fight for the equal right to complete my theology degree without discrimination. I spoke yesterday at the Pride and Protest. I got invited to speak on the issue at the Pride and Protest event yesterday, and essentially we need to bring back safe schools because the only way we've continued to win the fight for our rights is to have to protest on the streets. So we had our misconduct committee. I addressed the matter before the university, and I should know the outcome by Monday. Essentially, the issue was over. Me asking for a university letter for Centrelink to confirm enrollment. Enrollment that they considered to be inappropriate communication. I don't know how they consider asking for a university letter for Centrelink to be inappropriate communication when that's the standard thing. And certainly for me, like a lot of students, I am on Centrelink disability studies payments, and I don't get paid to be an ordained minister. And the reality is that as a result of wrong information that have been told to Centrelink, my payments had been gotten cut, and I was incredibly worried about being evicted from my house without Centrelink payments to pay the rent, look, eventually the Centrelink payments got restored, but it got restored on a full-time study load, and so I'm still having to go through Centrelink to get them restored. But one would think that when one theological staff member doesn't want to do it because of whatever prejudice they've got, one thinks that one can go to another staff member and get that university letter for Centrelink without it being considered a huge big deal. But the reality is that unfortunately, for whatever reason, even within my own university and even within the CSU School of Theology, unfortunately at United Theological College, there are some individuals who are not supportive of students with disabilities, and they're not supportive of transgender asexual people. If for me, the thing that I wanted to focus on was getting the payments restored, and didn't want to waste my time with one individual staff member. Didn't want to waste my time with an individual staff member who has a personal prejudice against me. me doing studies and getting Centrelink payments. And the medical advice I'd been given was to focus on getting a university letter for Centrelink, and had been in order to restore my payments. That was more of a priority than dealing with a prejudiced staff member that I'm able to avoid. So I personally, I didn't want to organize action against them. I had 3 subjects left, and this particular staff member is in a position of power and authority, and the medical advice I had gotten was my priority was to get a university letter for Centrelink, linked to restore payments. And payments combined with my priority was focusing on Mardi Gras, etc., and a whole heap of other stuff, and didn't really want to focus on dealing with a discriminatory bully, a discriminatory, they said a discriminatory comment to me over the phone against me getting studies and against me against me doing studies and against me doing Centrelink payments, and I wasn't going to waste. It boiled down to a question of what was more important, having a roof over my head and having Centrelink payments so I could pay the bills, or becoming homeless and without Centrelink payments and wasting my time and energy on trying to get a university letter from an individual who was never going to give it to me. And so I chose me, and I considered that, and I was already studying online through another campus, and so for me, I personally, I didn't want to waste my time on a particular staff member that was not my teacher, that I'd had very little interaction with because they'd never been accepting of me as a transgender male asexual adult survivor of abuse. And I personally, I won't talk to, as a general rule, unless they insist on communicating with, unless the particular individual insists on communicating with me, while I'll do my best to address whatever their problem or issue is. As a general rule, I won't talk to those who don't accept who I am without prejudice. I don't have time for them, because if I wasted my time on every single individual that refused to accept who I am without prejudice, I will be spending a lot of time and energy. I personally don't want to waste my time and energy on individual. If it's in any way, shape, or form to bypass individuals who don't accept who I am without discrimination, then I seek ways to try and bypass them. And then I'm not going to engage with them, and that's all there is to it. And in relation to engagement with this particular staff member, it was a case of they're in a position of power and authority. I'm a student, and I had to weigh up, was it worthwhile? And the answer is no. The answer is no, because of the fact that I had to worry about getting Centrelink payments, and I had to worry about the possibility of being evicted from my house without Centrelink payments to pay my rent. And so that was more of a priority than dealing with a particular individual. And I, for the life of me, I had thought that by walking away from this particular individual that they would leave me alone. But for the life of me, I don't understand why individuals who can't accept who a person is without discrimination, why they can't just leave us alone, when we walk away from them, and why they just can't let go, and move on. The life of me, like I've never been able to work that out. And my hope and prayer is that the truth will prevail, and they will throw out this particular discriminatory staff members claims, because it sets up a dangerous precedent of basically, if a student wants a university letter for Centrelink, they have to go and lodge a complaint, which doesn't make any logical sense in any way, shape, or form. That, to me, like it doesn't make any logical sense. I want to thank those who have supported us through that, through the pain of having to deal with that in the background. I think what helped get us through that time was being able to focus on organising for Fair Day, and also being able to focus on organising for Mardi Gras. I think that helped us be able to get through that. And also, the other thing I think helped get us through is the fact there were a number of teachers. There are a number of teachers who refused to carry out. Who rejected the complaint, and said, "You're more than welcome to come and study, complete your subjects in our class," and that was really, really good to see. And it's little things like that have helped me to get through that, and I want to send a shout out to everybody. Thank you very much for supporting us through that. Today, so I think that's all the announcements that we had. There is a protest happening 9:30 next Saturday. It's organised by Community Action for Rainbow Rights at Queen Scare for transgender rights. Check out the Community Action for Rainbow Rights Facebook page for further details in relation to that. Today's message, what I wanted to bring you is a covenant for life. And this is the first Sunday of Lent, a time when we prepare to celebrate the heart of our faith, Jesus' death and resurrection. This is a time for penance, perhaps easier to see in the Northern Hemisphere with its winter cold than in the middle of summer heat, vacation, and the beach of the countries south of the equator, and for hope. The Gospel of Mark brings us the first proclamation of the kingdom. In the two preceding verses, Mark has spoken with great conciseness of the 40 days Jesus spent in the wilderness. We have in mind Matthew's long text on this theme. Mark is sparing in words as usual. The Spirit becomes present at the beginning of Jesus' ministry, driving Jesus into the wilderness where Jesus prepares for this mission. In the Bible, the desert is a place both of testing and of encounter with God. There are our human needs are barely met. The harshness of the situation makes us fight for life. The will is weakened, and we are more prone to give in to the possibility of some release. Faced with the inclemency of the desert on their way to the promised land, the Israelites were tempted to go back to their oppression in Egypt. But the desert, with its profound silence, is also a privileged place to encounter God. Freed from the daily turmoil, we are in better condition to hear God's word, which can become firmly rooted in us. Every mission of proclaiming and witnessing the kingdom must be prepared in the desert, where the proximity of death stirs up our will to live and makes us experience the isolation which leads us to the hunger for communion. Today, on our continent, the spirit of many witnesses of the kingdom is being shaped by the following the Lord in troubles, difficulties, and hostility. These witnesses know that Christ's death gave them new life. 1 Peter 3:18-19. The text from Genesis shows us the meaning of the covenant. After the destruction caused by the flood, God affirms this covenant for life, including animal life. Mark's text also mentioned animals. The covenant is made with every living creature in 9:9. This is worth emphasizing because an excessively anthropocentric view does not appear to value other forms of life in God's plan. Paradoxically, our viewing human beings as masters of creation has made us forget the significance of creation and the respect we should have for it. What is not human seems to be outside of the history of salvation. This approach has many repercussions. From our contempt for animal life, we have moved to a religious underestimating of our own physical or material life, as is often said. Thus, the human body also turns out to be outside of God's plan. Reducing ourselves to disincarnate spiritualism, we easily lose interest in so many other people's daily needs for food, health, and housing. These needs cease to challenge us because these imperatives come precisely from aspects shared with animal life, considered to be of so little value. In destroying creation for supposedly religious reasons, we are destroying ourselves, and we fail to understand the meaning of our incorporation in the risen body of Christ through baptism. This is not the perspective of our text. Not only human beings were saved in Noah's Ark, but at the divine request, animals accompanied them in their survival. It is hard for us to integrate this perspective, but it does make us see that the God in whom we believe has a universal and radical will for life. For this reason, in a famous passage, Paul tells us that the creation itself is also expecting to be set free in Romans 8:21-22. Our next song of praise we're going to go to is If Not Us Who by Tash Holmes.
Already I hear the music, the victory drawing near. Freedom has arrived, rejoice. And from my lips a cry of praise. Here I am, send me out. Give me strength enough to lift my voice and shout against poverty, honestly, against the injustice in our society. Let this to us be true. If not us, who? Give me strength enough to lift my voice and shout against poverty. Honestly, against the injustice in our society. Let this to us be true. If not us, who? Already I hear the music.
Welcome to Open Communion. So originally I was taught Open Communion in MCC. In a little church called Crave MCC to be exact. And essentially I was taught that Reverend Troy Perry, the way I'd been taught, this is before I knew of the existence of the Universal Life Church. In Crave MCC, I'd been taught that about this gay Pentecostal minister by the name of Reverend Troy Perry, and who had been excommunicated from the Pentecostal churches simply because he was gay. It's an amazing story. Essentially, and at that very first meeting, now bear in mind in relation to Reverend Troy Perry's concept, etc., the concept of open communion, the concept of open communion and doing open communion every week was a foreign concept to Troy Perry, but it became a powerful symbol of inclusion because at that very first meeting that Troy Perry held in his lounge room, he organized. There were, according to the story of Troy, there were about 12 people that turned up. Essentially, and so this practice, because previously there'd been closed door practices in terms of the sacraments, in terms of baptism, communion, etc. But he held this open communion, and he reiterated, from what I understand from the accounts, the accounts of the Lord's Supper, Supper, which traditionally, as we know, in the four passages told in Mark, Matthew, Luke, and 1 Corinthians, the institution of the Lord's Supper were traditionally taught was taken on the night that Jesus was betrayed and arrested and crucified. So the concept of open communion, it took on a whole new meaning, and it became a symbol. It became a powerful symbol of radical inclusion at a time when it was very much needed, and I think, but little did I know that the concept of practicing open sacraments had been going on much earlier in the Universal Life Church, in which Reverend Kirby J. Hensley did just as equally, when he held that first church service and started ordaining everyone without discrimination. The same principle applied, and applied. I think. Look, the ULC could have even given. The ULC could have even given Perry. It could have even been the angel that gave Perry the robe to start up his own church within his own lounge room. But I think that during open communion, it's a reminder. It's a reminder to the church that this table, it belongs to God. It doesn't belong to the state or the church, and all are welcome to this table. And so, in that tradition, from those teachings that I was taught in Crave and MCC, and also combining with what I've learned. I learned about the history of open sacraments within the ULC. I've been able to combine the two histories, which has further expanded my understanding of why the point of doing open communion. So, on the night that Jesus was betrayed, Jesus took a loaf of bread and broke it and said, "This is my body, which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And in the same way, after supper, Jesus took a cup and said, this cup contains a new covenant of my blood, which is poured out for you. Do this in remembrance of me. This table does not belong to the state. It doesn't belong to any church. It belongs to God, and all are welcome to this table without discrimination and without prejudice. Please come and share wherever you're watching, wherever you're tuning in, whatever you've got in the way of grape juice and bread. Please come and share in this meal. God, in your grace, hear our prayer. Our next song of praise is Constantine, and it's by the History Teachers.
Constantine. Byzantine, a saint that the Eastern and by sorcery, while in the West it seems pandemonium and anarchy. Oh, Constantine, oh, a saint, with your reading, you changed everything.
Oh, Constantine, what a guy. Oh, Constantine, what a guy.
Complaints, now you're a saint. Oh, Constantine. Oh,
Constantine, what a guy. Oh, Constantine, what a guy.
Constantinople was your city. Constantine, oh, a saint, with your reading, you changed everything. D313 ended the persecuting of the Christians. Saint Constantine, oh, Constantine, a saint, that the Eastern of sorcery, while in the West it seems pandemonium and anarchy. Oh, Constantine, oh, a saint, with your reading, you changed everything. D313 ended the persecuting of the Christians. Saint Constantine.
So now it's time for our offering. You would like to, firstly, I want to thank all those who donated to our CLACCA ULC Mardi Gras float entry. I'm just going to show you a video clip of what your financial donations help to make possible for Mardi Gras. I'm just gonna see if it will come up for us. So okay. Wrong clip. We will just go into my apologies. My apologies. This was ready. Unfortunately, for whatever reason. Okay, we've got it. Got it. So I just want to show you a short. It only goes for about 47 seconds, but I want to show you a video clip of what your financial donations help to make possible at the Sydney Gay and Lesbian Mardi Gras. As I said, we got in after a 5-year campaign for the equal right to march in Mardi Gras. And I think that this was successfully organized. Just to explain what you're viewing here. So this video footage was shot by James's family, a family who viewed the protest. Now, James is an atheist, but James also identifies as within the LGBTIQA plus spectrum. So identifies within our community. And his family, he was kind enough to share the video footage with us. Now, bear in mind on that, and so I'm just going to add it to our live stream because I think no, it's not the one that I wanted. So let's see. Yep, I think that's going to be the best shot. So I'll see if I can get it. See if I can get the video footage just a little bit bigger in order to show what your donations help to make possible.
Tim, there he is. Just Yay. Let's see.
Cool. So that's what your generous donations help to make possible. The difficulties and the challenges. Look, there were quite a few challenges, but look, it was the first time CLACCA ULC had marched in Mardi Gras. And without your financial donations, that wouldn't have been possible. Originally, we had 10. We had filled all 10 positions. Mardi Gras had only permitted us 10 spots. 10 spots. Originally, we had filled all 10 spots. For whatever reason, five at the very last minute, we got separated from five individuals because it was because Mardi Gras was not clear. Mardi Gras was not clear in terms of how far people were moving forward, and so there was difficulty in terms of being able to find it. Yeah, without your generous donation, that would not have been possible. So I want to thank each and every one of you very much for financially donating to help make that possible. I especially want to thank two individuals, Reverend Josephine Inkpen from Pitt Street Uniting Church, as well as Reverend Peter Powell, who helped to financially contribute to make that possible, as well as all of those who helped to financially donate, because without your financial donations, that the covering the cost of that certainly wouldn't have been possible. Because fortunately for Mardi Gras, unfortunately they charge an enormous amount. They charge an enormous amount. And for CLACCA ULC, we don't get we don't get given nearly enough resources sources. So any sources, and so anything that you can do to donate to our fighting fund or volunteer with our church, you can either financially donate at CLACCA Universal Life Church 112-879, account number 495-470-290, or gofund.me/6910E99. And if you would like to volunteer with CLACCA Universal Life Church towards the life and work of CLACCA ULC, well, yes, the protest work is an important part of what we do, because we are a dynamic, inclusive, progressive, interfaith human rights church established in the LGBTIQA plus survivor community in response to the exclusion and isolation from other churches. However, without your support, the work that we do is challenging and difficult to do. So thank you very much for those of you out there who support the life and work that we do. And now I'm going to go to our next song of praise, which is I'll Stand By You, and it's a song by The Pretenders, and then I will give a last minute message.
Why you look so sad? The tears are in your eyes. Come on and come to me now. Don't be ashamed to cry. Let me see you through. 'Cause I've seen the dark side too. When the night falls on you, don't know what to do. Nothing you confess could make me love you less. I'll stand by you. I'll stand by you. Won't let nobody hurt you. I'll stand by you. So if you're mad, get mad. Don't hold it all inside. Come on and talk to me now. Hey, what you got to hide? I get angry too. Well, I'm alive like you. When you're standing at the crossroads, don't know which path to choose. Let me come along.
Cool. So that was I'll Stand By You by the Pretenders. On a important note, CLACCA ULC, yes, we will be back next Sunday. Sunday, please keep tuning us from 5 p.m. Every Sunday. I think I think ultimately, on my personal stance, the LGBTIQ community, QA plus community, it exists in every single religion, and I think that the church needs to stand behind the LGBTIQ A plus community and put their prayers into organized action and get behind the transgender community. But more importantly, I think that the Christian LGBTI, the Christian churches, more importantly, not only do they need to stand behind the LGBTIQA plus community, but more importantly, they need to get it into their heads. They need to get it into their heads that Jesus exists in all religions, not just in the Christian Bible. The Bible, I have seen it for myself. If you pick up a copy of the Quran, which I happen to have one. Now, I am not Muslim in any way, shape, or form, but the Universal Life Church has a copy of the Quran, and I went straight to the index and I had a look at it. And yes, Jesus, there are 60. There's over 60, 64, 67. I forget the last count. Bible verses about Jesus in this book. There's a book. There is nothing transphobic or homophobic in this book. I can testify to that. I think that the Christian church needs to get it into their head that Jesus exists in all religions, not just in Christianity. And I think that likewise, the LGBTIQ community, it exists in all religions. And I think that there needs to be an interfaith. There needs to be a rainbow interfaith alliance between all the different faiths, because to revoke these religious exemptions from the Anti-Discrimination Act, we need all of us to come together and fight to revoke them, because our trans rights are under attack. Our trans rights are under attack in religious schools. Our trans rights are under attack, in which we need to bring back safe schools. Our trans rights are under attack. Attack in every single religious church, and I think that while it's great that LGBTI Christians are uniting, and I certainly still identify as a Christian, but I think that for the church to remain relevant, it has to begin to realize that we worship the same God, regardless of what name you call God. It's the same God we worship, regardless of your religious practice. Jesus exists both inside and outside of the church, and exists in all religions. But more importantly, Jesus exists amongst LGBTIQ people, people not only at the cross, but also at the resurrection. God bless, and see you next Sunday. One more important announcement: CLACCA ULC will be doing its annual Easter nativity theme. We are in terms of Palm Sunday. We will be having the Transgender Day of Visibility, Transgender Day of Visibility, and also the refugee rally. What we will do is we will try and record a service. We will try and pre-record a service and see if we can schedule it to live stream on the day so that when I'm not here, I'm gonna see if it's possible to pre-record footage and then schedule at the time. I'm not tech savvy, but I'm gonna try to do that, and if it works, it effectively means it effectively means that during times where if I'm tied up with another commitment, we can then chuck on a pre-recorded church service. So that's what we will try and do to see if that works. Works because I love doing this every Sunday. I love doing this every Sunday. And given the fact of logistically, it's been a bit of a struggle in terms of getting people to fill in. I'm going to see if I can do some pre-recording and then live stream that so that we can nobody has to miss out on Sunday church, because I know how hard as an LGBTIQ person it is, QA plus person, how difficult it is to often be able to find a church, and the only place that you can come to church is online, where you feel safe, because you don't feel safe or accepted or welcome in any church to be free to practice your faith, etc. You are certainly welcome here in CLACCA ULC to practice your faith however you want to practice it. Regardless of your religious belief. God bless. Thank you very much for joining us, and I will see you next Sunday. Sunday from 5 p.m. God bless, and bye for now.